Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott, the president of Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. Well, one of the shows I strongly recommend listening to if you're an aspiring entrepreneur is Stop Riding the Pine. And the show is hosted by Jamie J. And Jamie is an amazing interviewer. He speaks with entrepreneurs on a variety of topics. And I had the pleasure of appearing on Stop Riding the Pine. And one of the topics that Jamie and I were focusing on were key elements to successful franchising. So this particular clip of Great Quote in Franchising, we're going to call this There's No Creativity in Franchising, and we're going to explain why. What do I want this franchise to do for me? Why are you considering getting into franchising? Because, a lot of times people that get into franchising, Jamie, I think probably should not get into franchising. They'll go into it for the wrong reason. Well, they'll see the success of one franchise and they'll say, God, I wish I owned one of these. But
Right.
that doesn't mean that they should necessarily buy into a Dunkin' Donuts franchise. And sometimes they go into the wrong franchise opportunity. So they might be suited for a franchise, but they're getting into the wrong franchise, So I think you really have to be open, to all the different categories that are out there. Again, going deep within yourself and asking yourself, what do I want this franchise to do for me? If you don't want to work on weekends, then don't get into one of these like children franchises where they're real busy on Saturdays or Sundays. So you have to say, what do I want it to do for me? And you ask yourself those deep-rooted questions.
Perfect. I think that's huge. It's very important for people to not jump into something.
Absolutely, because it's expensive too, Jamie. I mean, a lot of times, you're signing a 10-year contract, which
Mm-hmm.
is 10 years of your life. It's a long time, isn't it? I mean, it's
Oh my
almost like
gosh.
I won't compare it to the sanctity of marriage, but
Right.
sometimes it goes further than that. I mean, having that 10-year commitment, so it is a very big commitment financially. It's a big commitment. I think you have to have the support from your family, whether it's your wife and your children, because the first year, typically from what I've learned in doing this show such a long time now, is it takes a long time to get it off the ground. Even if it is a Subway franchise or a very recognizable brand name, you're still going to be putting a lot of work into it. So
Right.
you might be missing that time from your family, and sometimes people get into franchising for the wrong reasons as well. Maybe they'll have a bad day at work, and they say, oh, I hate my boss.
I'm
I
out of here.
I want to be my own boss. And again, franchising may not be the best alternative for that type of person. There's so many different types of levels of entrepreneurship. Franchising is just one. I mean, you could just initially start your own business where you get to be the creator. I hate to say this, but there's no creativity in franchising sometimes. I mean, you have to follow somebody else's creation, and that's okay for some people. For me, it wouldn't be. And I'm assuming in getting to know you over time, you might have trouble with that as well, because again, you like to create.
I couldn't get outside of the structure. But I understand why that would be a good thing because okay,
Exactly.
they've been there, they've done that. You won't make the same mistakes that the original franchisor made because they found the solutions along the way, and that's part of the attraction for franchise.
Exactly. I published. Yeah, it sounds like I'm bragging, Jamie, but I just got one of a paper published in
You deserve it.
a journal. If you'd like to hear that whole interview with Jamie J of Stop Riding the Pine, all you have to do is go to stopridingthepine.com and you can hear the whole podcast. And lastly, we just want to thank everyone for making this podcast such a big success. It's hard to imagine that we've been doing it now 10 years ago. It was one of the things I was talking about with Jamie on the show, is the longevity of the show. Is, what started out to be a 1-month project turned out to be 10 years. So I just want to thank everyone for listening to the podcast and making it such a success. So thanks, everyone. We'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.